To the Midday News on 3FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kazmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Human rights advocates condemn military assault of media general journalist in Walewale. Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for the area has called on the Defence Minister to immediately investigate the matter. Also on the program, Ghana Immigration Service cautions applicants against provision of falsified documents as the service commences screening of thousands of candidates nationwide. And much later on the program, no significant improvement yet as the GPRTU and government works to resolve the long-month transport crisis. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces stationed in Walewale in the Northeast region have assaulted the North Regional correspondent of Media General while he was recording an exercise being conducted by the soldiers. Solomon Kwame Kale Kanawule reported that the soldiers were carrying out an operation unknown to the Municipal Security Coordinator, who is also the Municipal Chief Executive. The reporter filmed the actions of the soldiers, who became infuriated, seized his phone and subjected him to severe beatings. Let's listen to him narrate his ordeal.
What I want. In about 3 steps away from the motor, then the military arrived, about 4 of them. So they shouted, whose motor is this? Whose motor is this? So I came back and I said, before I could open my mouth to say, oh, that is my motor, then they gave me the first cane. One closer to me gave me the cane. So he saw the t-shirt I was wearing is Omia TV. So he was about to give me the second one, but paused because he saw the Omia TV. Then the one behind him. So after he saw that I was wearing Omia TV t-shirt, he asked me, who are you? So I told him, oh, I'm the TV3 Media General correspondent in the region. So before I could end the sentence, the one from behind also rushed in and gave me the second stroke. So the one who was earlier interacting with me told him that in P or stay or a Media General reporter. So he said, and so what? So there he gave me the second, the third and fourth stroke with a wire. The first one used a stick, and then the second one he used wire. So they gave it to me there, and then I pushed my motor from where it's not as if I park where there are a place that has been restricted. I park it far away. Later, he made a call, and he called me that I should come for the phone. I went, he gave me the phone to talk to somebody. The person introduced himself to me as their commander. He asked me to narrate what happened. I told him, and he said no. Then the guys didn't do well. So he is apologizing on their behalf, so they will release me to go. I said,
and he had the Media General's Walewale correspondent in the Northeast region. The Member of Parliament for the area, Mahamatia Abdu Kabiru, is calling on the Defence Minister to urgently investigate the alleged assault of a journalist and several civilians by men believed to be military personnel in the Walewale township. The MP described the incident as part of a parting of alleged military brutality in the area, citing similar assaults on journalists and civilians in February 2025. Dr. Kabiru joins us now on the phone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice, and thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners.
You describe this as part of a recurring pattern of military brutality in the area. Why do you think this has become a flashpoint for these incidents?
First and foremost, one expects a security officer, a military for that matter, to operate without bias. The moment you are prejudiced, the moment you have in your contemplation that certain people are criminals and that those people wholesale are responsible for any criminal activities ongoing, then you are prejudiced up in issue. And that prejudice is why they would assault a media person without even asking. Even when the person introduces himself or herself, the response is that, and so what? Because they are operating with huge biases, huge prejudice. And I think that's the starting point. Anytime you are asked to undertake a national assignment, you have to do it without prejudice. Admittedly, there could be some criminal activities on the Walewale-Bolgatanga road. I am not in any way condoning with that. But I cannot condone with the criminal activities of the military personnel. You know what they are doing is equally criminal. You cannot correct criminality with another criminality. And I think that occurrence is to the fact that they assume that every single person in Walewale is a criminal, and that where there are traces of criminal activities going on within Walewale and its vicinity, they would attack every single person they see on site. And that is unfortunate. In any case, what is the criminal activities within the current time space we are talking about? Virtually, there's nothing happening. No attack has happened in Walewale. No person has been attacked in Walewale by a civilian or another civilian attacking another civilian. And you are in town, marauding and on rampage. That, I think, is not allowed. That, I think, is not acceptable. And we must condemn this. Look, when it happens to civilians, when it happens to, local folks, people think that, well, they are fighting, so they should be dealt with. But this is an innocent person doing his activities. He's just been posted there by virtue of his work. There are several other people who don't even have the voice. They are neither Mampusis nor Kusasi or any trap. They are there doing their legitimate business. Why do you come to town? By far, they don't know that Walewale Township is very cosmopolitan. I can say that Mampusi population in Walewale Township is competing with other tribes. So you cannot just come to such a town and start beating people, assuming that there are a group of people attacking other people. That is wrong. In any case, what is the attack? What is the threat of attack? So it's an unprovoked attack, and then innocent people are being attacked and assaulted by the military. And I think it's becoming way too many. And I think that it ought not to end there. We have been complaining 21st century, 4th Republican Constitution. We cannot live with the military that way. That any military person, by virtue of the fact that we've given them the uniform, have the license to beat people without accountability.
You expect accountability and action. A number of the time when these things happen, we'll hear the military issuing statement and indicating that they would investigate it. Beyond investigations, in this case, what sanctions do you expect the military hierarchy to really mete out to the individuals?
The commander who ordered them, to go to Walewale without any provocation, the head must rule. He has to first lose his job for us to even know that, well, if you act in excess of your authority, if you act in a manner without discretion, if you act in a manner without guided by reasonable, cause, you ought to lose your job. That is the first start, because we cannot have such criminals in our military. We cannot have such deviants in our military, because acting that way is you are not different from the criminal on the street. Taking the law into your own hands and using the machinery of the state to bully people and assault people, you are not different from the criminal. So those people, I think, to start with, must lose their job. And then we properly interrogate. Look, if there's any threat of any civilian life in Walewale, I would support fully the law to take the course of anyone found to be a threat to the national security. But I will never support the state being used or the power of the state being used to mete out atrocities. So dismissal of the officers and those people who directly committed this offense against the journalists and the scores of civilians have to equally pay for that. This will be the military or government approach to restoring confidence And I'm open. If any of those particular persons are affected, is hoping to take a civil action, which is a wrong against the person himself, as a member of parliament, I'll give the person my fullest cooperation and support to ensure that his rights are ventilated and then he gets the compensation so deserved.
As you rightly admitted earlier, this is not the first time this is happening to any media person in that part of the country. What, in your opinion, should be the protective measures for journalists in that part of Ghana?
Well, I think that the first thing is to remove biases. You get the point. You don't come, no matter the protective measures you put in place to avoid any skirmishes. When you come in and assume that every single person you see in town or someone seen covering what you are doing, if you know what you are doing is proper, why are you even afraid that a journalist will cover it? So the first thing is for them to remove bias and prejudice and to do their work professionally. The second thing is for them to improve civilian-military relationship, improve dialogue and cooperation. For instance, if you have intelligence that someone probably may be attacking a vehicle, say in Walewale or anywhere within the Walewale rectangle route, engage with the local security. The police is in the Walewale. There's even a military command in Walewale. These people know nothing about what has happened. Why can't you engage them for them to share local knowledge with you in a manner of addressing this issue? That, I think, is another approach that the military can use, whether they are internal or external to the jurisdiction of Walewale and its environment. They can engage the local actors to build consensus. Even the military doesn't operate in isolation. The regional minister is there. The ministerial chief executive is there. These people can help you with actionable intelligence to arrest anyone or to forestall any possible crime that will be committed. And I think when we do this, probably we'll be getting a situation where we'll be able to address much of the issue. But you see, problem in Walewale is a spillover of the problem from Boko. And until such time we address that particular problem, we cannot pretend. In fact, the problem in Boko is happening in Accra. There are areas that there are attacks on each other due to the problems in Boko.
Well, at least the Otumfuo mediation and the report, and I believe the implementation process has already started to ensure that whatever it is that he was able to find would be implemented completely.
That is actually has created more problem than a solution.
So
that has created more problem than a solution. And I think that, and that's that the basis of which they ask you to have media blackout on this whole reportage is the cause of a problem, because they can then use the state to perpetuate illegality against a certain group, and I don't think it should be allowed. That has actually created every single now and then there are attacks in Boku. People cannot travel to Boku under escort.
Oh no, but I believe you understand that these chieftaincy issues are quite sensitive, and a lot of the time, media conversations, if not handled well, could make things worse. But let me ask you my last question on this before you go. In terms of this very issue, are you going to be personally involved in ensuring that this comes to there's proper conclusion to this?
Well, so I'm not going to relent. Parliament is opening. If we don't hear anything from the military command, any reserve explanation. When Parliament resumes, the minister will be called to Parliament to answer, give reasons why civilians were attacked unprovoked. That is something that I can do. That is something within my powers to do. So, as I said, any of these particular people affected has the right to pursue civil action, and I'm willing to provide every support.
Thank you.
And if that is not happening, we'll petition for an inquiry.
Thank you so much, Doc, for speaking to us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And you had the Member of Parliament for the Walewale constituency, Beatrice Adu Kabiru. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us. Now, Security and Fraud Consultant Richard Kumado, while condemning the act, has also called for proper communication between the two bodies.
It's condemnable, it's unnecessary, and I think these are our brothers in uniform who took the law into their own hands this evening. In this modern day and age, some of these conducts may land them in some level of difficulty. Number two, it is my prayer and hope that the CDS and the commander he referred to have watched the video or have access to the person information. And I believe the overall output of our military, and I don't think they will tolerate some of these issues that may put the name of the military into jeopardy. There has to be investigation, and appropriate actions will have to be taken. And I want to trust the CDS, and I trust all the other related authorities in this matter. But then what is also important is that if you are not a non-journalist, like Kanse or many of our people who have been on the front lines, there's also the need for proper education, and there's a need for proper introduction when you find yourself within military operations. One of the things military officers are always apprehended about is what we call operational security. And they wouldn't want journalists who they don't know or anybody at all who work within that premises to be able to begin to take pictures and record whatever they do. Then the third point is we are mostly reactive and not responsive. And so we are impatient with one another, and communication sometimes, and in most times, in many of these circumstances, become a problem. And you can see from the ordeal and the narration from Solomon that communication was a problem right from day one. And if they had listened to themselves a little bit, then you would have realized that Solomon would have introduced himself properly to them with not just wearing of a t-shirt, but with a proper identification where references can be taken by the soldiers. And that is what we need to educate ourselves to establish that relationship between law enforcement officers and the general public, particularly media people. Until we are able to do that successfully, we'll continue to have some of these difficulties.
And I heard that fraud and security consultant Richard Kumado speaking about the need for the media and military to have a good relationship in order to work properly. Now, the Media Foundation for West Africa has also condemned the act, asking for legal redress.
The Media Foundation for West Africa condemns this inhumane act and very unfortunate for a country that is democratic, that believes in the rule of law, and to have security agents or officers of the security, the military for that matter, assault a journalist when the person is in a clearly identifiable attire as a journalist. I think it's very, very unfortunate and very, very condemnable. There's need to increasingly seek legal redress for some of these unfortunate incidents, because if it's just public condemnation and then it ends there, we've seen that in the past, we haven't really had much result. Let's also go through the legal means, do litigation, and ensure that we get justice for abused journalists. Media General should not let this case be one of those others that have gone unredressed. I think the media organization should pursue this case to a logical conclusion and ensure that justice is served. To the military command, I would say this is an opportunity for them to let Ghanaians know that they don't approve unprofessionalism among its officers. And so they must take the necessary action to bring the said officers to book to serve as a deterrent to others.
And you had a representative of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Some other news, and many aspiring recruits have praised the Immigration Service for implementing significant reforms in this year's recruitment exercise, calling it stress-free compared to previous years. Approximately 6,000 applicants are expected to be processed over the scheduled 3 days in the Western region. Irama Smith joins us on the phone with some more. Irama, if you can talk to us about how differently this year has been in the Western region. Hey, Rama, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I wanted you to tell us about how differently this has been as we're hearing recruits say.
Right. So, what I would say is basically this time around, it has a human face, because in earlier recruitment exercises, every activity was centered at one point. And, usually it will be overcrowded and so many things taking place at the same time, and many people accessing each service. So this year you realize that you are looking at about 7,000 potential recruits, and these would have been sent at one location. But now in the Western region, they were divided into 4. We had the RDF, that's the Rapid deployment force center, we had the Gendu Park, we had the prison service, we also had the fire service center. And when you go to each center, every activity that needs to take place is taking place. So basically, that is what is happening. The overcrowding has been dealt away with, and because each person also has access to the application. You know, you apply online and it's open, very, very transparent. So you see each step that you go through, everything is open. And I believe this is making it better for the applicants.
Iram, I want you to hold on as we hear some of them.
Actually, this is my second time of applying. The first time it was something else, but this year I think that there has been a great changes. There's been great reforms in the immigration service. And then as regards to the arrangement, the movement, and even the sharing of the snack.
The officers were friendly. I heard of a stampede recently, so I was thinking the same would happen through the process, but God all being good, everything was smooth.
The people were so kind, were so good to us. They even gave us chairs to sit, unlike previous years, and they were really, really lenient with us. Yes.
The officers are very calm to take you through the process.
Irama, if you can tell us, was there any word from the regional commander, though?
I actually spoke to the regional communications officer, Moses Atapo, and he informed me that there is very little human interference. You know, what they are doing there, after you register, when you get there, the authentication of your documents, and then when you go through the exercise, everything, the next step is going to be the aptitude test, and gradually you progress to the next level. And they have a centralized database across the nation, which all of the information gathered will be fed into. So if maybe a set has 30 marks, if you don't qualify, then it's like elimination. Gradually, they'll get to the very top for those who actually qualify to be in the service. So he gave the assurance that they should just be calm and then go through the process, since there isn't going to be any partiality or favoritism anywhere.
Thank you very much, Irama Smith. She is with our office in the Western region. Let's hear the regional communications officer for the immigration service in the Western region, Moses Akapo.
In Western region, we are expected to attend to about 6,994 applicants. And as you can see, the process is moving on smoothly. Without any incidents, the applicants are very comfortable and going through the process very smoothly. As you can see, the orderliness of the whole exercise tells that a lot of work has been done, right from the ministry level to the directorate and management down to the region, so that we can have a very smooth exercise. The process is expected to run for 3 days, beginning today, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and Thursday.
You had Moses Akapo. He is the regional communications commander for the Ghana Immigration Service in the Western region. Let's find out what's happening right here in Accra. My colleague Deborah Abba-Mensah is at the Ghana Police Church at 37, where the exercise is taking place. She joins us live on the phone. Debbie, if you can tell us really what is going on as regards the screening in Accra, where you are.
Okay, so this is the exercise has been so smooth so far. They are doing this exercise across 10 centers here in Accra. It is a nationwide recruitment which will be running from today to Saturday here in Accra. And speaking to some of the authorities that were on the field, they've so far not faced any major challenges. The only challenge they face is some people trying to change their age, but they've been advised to desist from such practice, because on the field, it's not going to be about the age, but your strength, and it might affect their health. So they've been advised to desist from it. And they're also introducing a new digital system that will be for the next stage of the screening where they will be taking exams and getting their results instantly. This will also help to solve some human interferences that occur in these processes. Okay.
Yeah, we know the Comptroller General has also been speaking. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so he reiterated the fact that some people are changing their age and the dates and all that. There are different dates on the Ghana card and also their birth certificate. So he's advising them to change it. But he also said so far the process has been so smooth.
I think the only challenge is most of them, I believe, are trying to change their dates of birth for obvious reasons. So they are coming with the date on their Ghana card is different from the new birth certificates they have gone for. So they are trying, some of them have affidavit to back it or whatever. But you see, let me give them a general advice. If you are 40 and you lie that you are 30, when you get to the field, you are likely to even die because you are subjected to a certain level of fitness. And once the age is not on your side, you will not make it. So you will fall off and then off you go. So they shouldn't think that when you reduce your age, you will get through. You will be found out at some point. The next step is the exams. And they'll be doing it computer-based. The exams will be computer-based. The same system. So it is programmed such that as soon as you finish, you get your results. So it's the Hausa man who says they are feeling their dochi. Now I know Kululu. Yes, this is the first time we are going that way. The Iman phase is out. The exams is set and it's programmed. So when you take your eye off the screen for 10 seconds, it will shut you off. So if you think that you are doing it at the comfort of your home, you can cheat. Forget it.
And you heard there the Comptroller General of the Ghana Immigration Service, Mr. Samuel Basintale Amadou. Now, a tour of some busy transport corridors indicates that long queues still exist, with hundreds of people abrazing the scorching sun as of 9:30 a.m. hours past the official time to start work. After weeks of major inspections by the Vice President and series of engagements between ministers and transport operators, no significant improvement is seen. However, some stations have hundreds of vehicles parked, but drivers blame heavy traffic congestions and spare parts cost for the long queues. Christian Yale is our man monitoring this for us. He joins us live on the line. Chris, you've been at this since. Which areas have you visited today since morning? What did you observe?
Beatrice, so I visited the Medina Central Station, which is the main station when you get to Medina, and then I later looked at the Zongo Junction area where almost every morning during rush hour you see thousands of people line up in different queues to different destinations. And I later moved to La Paz, the Tema Station, and across these areas, especially at the Medina Zongo Junction, which is one of the busiest corridors, I realized that as of 9:30 a.m. and even beyond, there were still significant numbers of queues over there with people who had still not been able to get a car to move to their workplaces. I spoke to one gentleman who tells me that, see, even after getting a car, after being in the queue for over 45 minutes as of the time I was speaking to him, he would still have to fall into traffic on that stretch, especially from the University of Ghana all the way to Shiashi, all on the N4. And so that was a concern for him. And then a few times when workers like himself have had to be sacked from post because they repeatedly, report work very late. And so that is the concern really, that it's almost as though we've not been able to see any significant improvement with more buses on the road as of now.
Christian, we'll have to end it here. Our time is up. Thank you so much, Christian Yale. He's a man who has been on this transport crisis in the capital city for us. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us on the Midday News today on 3FM 92.7. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Deloitte forecasts 5.7% growth for Ghana in 2026 amid strengthening macroeconomy, and Ghanaian banks see capital boost from domestic debt exchange program closure, but bad loans threaten profits. Plus, Dr. Eric Adu, financial economist, urges Ghana to prioritize bulk reserves over market gains amid surge in gold prices. I am Michael Obodu. Details of this and many other stories coming up shortly. Please stay. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story now. And auditing and consultancy firm Deloitte has projected Ghana's economy to grow by 5.7% in 2026. The forecast reflects what the firm describes as Ghana's current economic stability, marked by a steady decline in inflation and the strengthening of the cedi. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. Deloitte says growth will be driven by stronger export performance and government flagship initiatives, including the 24-hour economy and the accelerated export development program. But the firm warns that the outlook could be threatened by volatility in cocoa production and wider challenges in the agricultural sector. In the second quarter of 2025, Ghana's economy expanded by 6.3%, with inflation falling to single digits. The cedi appreciated by more than 30% in the first 9 months of the year, averaging around 13 Ghana cedis to the US dollar. This performance was underpinned by higher gold export receipts, sustained interventions by the Bank of Ghana, successful debt restructuring, and initiatives such as the Ghana Gold Board. Deloitte has urged the government to maintain capital spending within its fiscal consolidation framework, stressing the importance of effective resource mobilization to sustain growth. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. To more stories now. Ghanaian banks are expected to benefit from the closure of the domestic debt exchange program, but rising bad loans could limit profitability. That's according to international ratings agency Fitch Solutions, which says the end of the debt restructuring has helped restore capital buffers across the banking sector. This 3 Business News Desk report has more.
In its latest outlook on sub-Saharan Africa's banking industry, Fitch expects a more accommodative monetary policy environment, with loan growth picking up across most markets in 2026. However, the agency warns that Ghana's high level of non-performing loans remains a key risk. As of October 2025, bad loans stood at 9.5%, a figure Fitch says would continue to weigh on banks' earnings across sub-Saharan Africa. Fitch forecast stronger loan growth by the end of the year, driven by pent-up demand, improved economic prospects, and reduced government borrowing as fiscal consolidation gathers pace. In recent years, banks in the region have increased their exposure to government securities drawn by high yields. In some markets, these holdings now account for between 20 and 35% of bank assets, compared to 10 to 15% before the pandemic. Fitch says banks will now face pressure to redirect capital towards private sector lending in order to sustain remains.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has begun its first meeting of the year to review the policy rates, and analysts are projecting cuts of up to 500 basis points. The rate currently stands at 18%, but the governor of the central bank has signaled a cautious approach despite significant gains in the country's macroeconomic indicators. Speaking on Business Focus yesterday, financial economist Dr. Eric Adu said a substantial reduction would validate the progress made in stabilizing the economy.
Inflation, the treasury bill, if the numbers are true, then the rate should go down significantly.
To what extent?
No, I've always advocated for a drastic reduction in the policy rate. And maybe about 400 to 500 basis points should do. If the numbers, unless we don't trust them. But if the numbers are telling us the truth, then it should go down by that margin.
That was financial economist Dr. Eric Boakye Adu speaking there. Meanwhile, financial analyst Nelson Kujo-Kwagbede is forecasting a cut of up to 350 basis points. He has been explaining his projection.
If you look at the tone of the governor right from the onset, I think he's fixated on a single-digit lending rate. And to the extent that the governor is fixated on that, because I heard him in the media saying that banks should be ready to lend a single digit, which means that at the end of this meeting, if there is going to be any rate cut, we expect the rate cut to be down by some 350 basis points for the beginning of the year. And as and when the temperature of the economy heats up, maybe they can revise it upwards.
Financial analyst Nelson Kujo-Kwagbede speaking. Now, as gold oil prices smash the historic $5,000 per ounce milestone, financial economist Dr. Eric Boakye Adu has cautioned the government against complacency. While the price spike is a significant windfall for the economy, Dr. Boakye Adu argues that the primary focus must remain on the nominal quantity of gold held in the national vault rather than the rising market value. Speaking to 3 Business, the economist highlighted that while the dollar value of current reserves is skyrocketing, true economic sovereignty lies in the fiscal volume of gold the country controls.
Although the mere increase in gold will force the value to go up, but that shouldn't deceive us, because usually in economic trajectory, there's a boom and a bend. A spike in gold price can also be succeeded with a fall in gold price eventually. So we need to use this good time to plan for possible bad times. It also calls for a time that we need to invest in strategic areas of the Ghanaian economy. We have largely concentrated our effort in commodities and the extractive sectors. I think it's high time that we look at other areas in terms of our quest to be a power supplying hub, building our energy, so that we can supply more to neighboring countries, ensuring that we produce automobiles in Ghana. Already the local manufacturers that are here, we need to support them, because if you look at the things that we buy often, it's usually machinery, and machinery vehicle is form a huge part of our total import. So let's use good times to invest for a possible bad time in the future.
You hear the financial economist and lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Eric Boakye Adu, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.